Marissa. I am a site reliability engineer for OmniTI, which means I do everything from work on the firewalls and networking to changing the printer cartridge, but most of my job is working on web architecture. So the nature of our business, and I would assume most of your guys, is that somebody has to be on call 24/7. That means nights, weekends, holidays. Somebody has to be there in case something breaks in the middle of the night, which it normally does. So what can you do to make that better? It's essential to business to have people on call, so how do you make on-call suck less? The answer is less pages. So what do you do during the week while you're at work in order to make sure that you get less pages over the weekend? The first thing you can do is make sure you have basic health checks on all your boxes. So these are going to be different depending on your business, but we have things like SSH, NTP, and ResMod checks automatically added for each multi-purpose box. Here's an example of our SSH metrics that we measure. We have duration and fingerprint. Obviously, we don't want it to take too long to SSH, and if the fingerprint changes, that's something we care about as well. I also mentioned ResMod, which is an open source utility built by OmniTI. It's for local host monitoring, and it comes with a number of metrics, but you can also write your own for whatever business type metrics that you need to run. This is an example of an OmniOS box, and it's running OmniOS. So things like SMF services we care about, want to make sure they don't go into maintenance. All of these metrics should be graphed. Graphing gives you a good visual so you can see like change or things you want to look for, if something changed drastically over the past week, or if something's been slowly changing and been flying under the radar, you want to look for patterns. So this graph is the same graph. It's a 2-day view and a 4-week view, and obviously you have to zoom out to that 4-week view in order to see that there's a pattern. There's a spike once a week. That's something that needs to be looked at. But you need to also understand what these metrics are. So if you get a page like this is a Z pool is 80% full, but that's only half the information you need to make a rational decision because it's a percentage, not a metric. So I know that that actually has 3 terabytes left on it and 80% doesn't matter. Another thing you want to look out for is recurring alerts. If something is paging all the time, even if it's clearing itself in a timely manner and you don't have to look at it, that needs to be fixed. That's going to be a false positive, and that shouldn't be waking you up in the middle of the night. Another thing that gives you false positives is unnecessary thresholds. Make sure you're not being too aggressive with your rules. Make sure it's like things that actually need to be woken up for. If something's paging you, but you know it can be at a higher number before it actually needs to be intervened with, then that's just overkill. So for example, we had NTP alerts that were paging us null constantly, and when we investigated, we realized that the check runs every 300 seconds, and the rule set was for 310 seconds, so one miss, we're getting woken up in the middle of the night, and time just didn't matter on that box. Another thing you pay attention to is what's happening, what's going on in the world, what's happening this weekend. That includes both calendar events and customer events. If you're running e-commerce, you want to pay attention to if the website's going to be having a sale. Things like Black Friday, Cyber Monday are going to be high traffic times. You got to make sure you prepare for that by doing load testing and making sure that you're available to scale. We run a bunch of mall websites, so that is a high traffic time for us, and we were not prepared a couple years ago, but we learned our lesson, and this year we made sure we spun up extra zones and were prepared to add them to the load balancer if we needed to. So we were ready to scale out, but of course you can scale up as well. Another calendar event is any time changes, so daylight savings, New Year's, leap years. Time's going to jump forward or backward, and I just start bugging my developers to make sure that the code is accounting for that. Make sure that nothing breaks. During the week when you have downtime, you should be looking at your documentation. Be nice to yourself. If you get paged in the middle of the night, you're not going to be in the right state of mind to think about, how do I fix this? If it's clear and concise, then that's all you need, really. So not only does that documentation need to be easy to read, but it needs to be easy to find. Your rule set should have the link directly in there, so it comes right up on your phone. You wake up to your page, you click on the link, or if it's something a little more simple, you can just put a note in the metric note about what it is. So obviously you can't prevent things like hardware failure. You're going to get paged eventually, but hopefully if you spend your week looking at these things and trying to make sure that you prepare for your weekend, you'll be able to go out and have fun and not be paged all the time, because ain't nobody got time for that. Thank you.